The very first one we'll talk about is misunderstanding Canadian immigration rules. Some people erroneously think that having a job offer in Canada automatically guarantees immigration. While a job offer can be beneficial, it does not guarantee immigration to Canada. There are specific programs and different criteria that you have to meet, such as the express entry system or the provincial nominee. All of these programs have their different criteria. So even if you have a job offer, you might still be refused entry into Canada if you fail other requirements. So ensure that you meet all other requirements before you continue. Another simple one that many people fail, or a mistake that they do, is assuming that if they have a relative in Canada, it will guarantee sponsorship. While having a relative in Canada can provide you sponsorship opportunity, it is subject to specific requirements and eligibility criteria set by the immigration body in Canada, which is the IRCC. So if you do not meet that particular criteria, you will still not be granted entry into Canada, even if you have a relative in Canada. So take that into heart. Do not fall into the fact that, oh, I have a relative, I have a brother or sister in Canada. Why are they refusing me? It is an erroneous thought. The third mistake some people have is thinking that if they have a visitor's visa to Canada, and when they are granted entry into Canada, automatically it can grant them permanent residency. That is a flat lie. Visitors' visas are temporary permits to enter and stay in Canada for only a limited period of time as specified in your visa. They do not automatically grant permanent residency. Separate immigration process and criteria exist for different immigration purposes. Good news now is that once you're in Canada with a visitor visa, you can actually look for a job till 2025. So that is something that is huge. But again, temporary work visa does not guarantee permanent residence in Canada. The fourth mistake, some people again misrepresent the language proficiency requirements. All Canadian immigration programs often requires proof of language proficiency in English or in French. It doesn't matter for them whether you are coming from an English-speaking country. So long your country is on the list, you are required to take your English proficiency tests, whether IELTS or any other one of your choosing that are accepted by IRCC. Some applicants mistakenly assume that minimal language skills are sufficient. However, each program has specific language requirements that must be met for you to be successful in taking or carrying out your immigration process. For example, express entry demands you scoring something of a high level, CLB 8 and above, while for the provincial nominee for some provinces even allow CLB 4. So you need to be cognizant of the different language requirements to carry on. Don't fall for this mistake number 4. A fifth mistake some people make too is overlooking the importance of educational equivalency. IRCC has stipulated that if you want to immigrate to Canada, you need to do what they call a credential assessment, ECA. Your education qualification obtained outside Canada may require an ECA, which is an educational credential assessment, to determine their Canadian equivalency. Failure to obtain an ECA or misunderstanding its significance can result in your application being refused. So do not claim that, oh, I have my degree in one of the Tier 1 country in US and all other places, but the IRCC is demanding that because they are the one who make the decision, why not do it? There are different bodies approved by them to carry out the ECA. You can use WES, ICAS, EQUAS. Another mistake that people make is underestimating the importance of accurate and complete documentation. In a bid to be fast in submitting your application, some people omit relevant sections that are needed to be filled. So incomplete and inaccurate documentation can lead to application delays or rejection. What that means is that sometimes when you send in your application to IRCC and they go through it and see that it is missing some documentation, they return it back to you so that you can fill it in and send it back. And what it means is a longer time for processing for you. It is crucial to thoroughly review all the documents that are requested so that you can provide them in the required format that they want you to. Missing signatures is another thing that some people do, and all this can lead to your application time being elongated or even rejected. So these are mistakes, small mistakes that make your time for waiting get longer. Another question that brings rise to another mistake is, can I apply for different routes? Because the Canadian government have more than 80 different routes that you can use to come to Canada. The simple answer is yes. But the mistake that people do is they assume that applying through multiple programs increases their chances of success. While it is important to explore different immigration programs, submitting multiple applications without you meeting the different requirements for each program criteria can lead to complication and even potential rejection. Their requirements differs. For example, the IRCC requirement for express entry is quite different from the requirement for the AIP, which is the Atlantic program. So if you do not meet this and just using one size fits all for them, you risk rejection at the end because you will not be meeting the requirement for all the program. So you can apply for all programs if you meet the different qualifications for the programs. The qualifications for each programs are stated therein. Read carefully or make consultations. One mistake that some people do fall prey to is underestimating the complexity of the Canadian immigration process. The Canadian immigration process can be complex with the various programs that they have, the different eligibility criteria, and the procedural requirements. Misunderstanding or overlooking these complexities can lead to error in the application process. It is essential that you thoroughly do your research and understand the specific requirements and regulation of the choosing immigration program that you seek to follow. You can seek professional advice when needed to ensure that you have a clear understanding of the process. Don't fall victim. The Canadian immigration processes are different for the different program that they operate. So having stated some of those common mistakes, now let us look a little bit closer to some of the mistakes that some people do in filing the actual paperwork. One of these is incomplete forms. For every program, there are required forms that you need to submit. Some people just think that it is one size fits all. No, it is not so. Failing to fill out the section of or all section of a form that is given accurately and completely can lead to delays or even rejection. It is crucial to provide all the required information and double check for any missing details. You can do that. Thankfully, the immigration body has provided you with a checklist for each program. So what you need to do for this is to print out the checklist. Print it out, and as you fill the form, tick it off. If you fill form 1, tick 1 out. You go to the next one, fill, ensure that everything is complete, tick it out. By so doing, you will solve that problem. Closely related to that is incomplete personal information inside forms that one is filling. If you provide inaccurate details such as name, date of birth, or contact information, this can lead to significant complication. Always verify the accuracy of your personal information before submitting the application. Making these mistakes can be huge. For example, some people want to type your date of birth. Let's use an hypothetical case. You want to say first, that is 01/1977. And guess what? You know, the keyboard sometimes can be a little bit funny. And now you type 19777. Yeah, it's a very simple mistake, but they can snowball into something that is very complicating. So take note of these. Do proofreading after you filled, especially if you're doing it in your computer. Go back again. Sometimes it might be worth it. If you can't read from the screen, print off that particular form you filled and go through it and make the required correction. Another mistake some people do make is not providing sufficient supporting documentation. Neglecting to provide or improperly submitting the required supporting documents can result in processing delay or your application being sent to you. For example, you've said you are married and in your form there is no marriage certificate. What does that tell the visa officer? It looks shady. You said you have kids, but there are no birth certificates inside. Those are supporting information documents that you need to have included before you mail your full application. So if you fail to do this, it elongates the time that your processing will take. So follow the guideline provided by the immigration authorities carefully and ensure that all the necessary documents are included before you mail and ship out your application. It saves a lot of time and headache. One mistake that is applicable to virtually everybody is non-compliant photograph. Your photograph, if it is not compliant, they send it back to you. And what it means, look at the time they send it and for you to go back again to take another one and send back. Those are times, they add up to the processing. So what you need to do, once you have been told to apply, there is always that script, that document, that is photograph requirement. Print it out and take that document to wherever you want to have your snapshot made. The photographer will look at those specifications and follow it through. Sometimes some places will give you a guarantee that if it is rejected, they will do it for you again free of charge. But it is up to you, but make sure that you follow the specified requirement. Saves huge time for you. Another mistake again we see is inaccurate employment history. You put your employment history in a chronological order. Sometimes there are discrepancies, they are inaccurate, they are not complete. There are spaces inside that history. You need to cover those spaces, not fraudulently. If you are out of job, it should be stated. You might probably be using that period you were out of job to do voluntary service. So just put it, from this period to this period, you were a volunteer in this organization. So it covers that gap. That is it. So do not leave any space without filling anything. So you have to provide accurate information history, and they should be credible, or it may lead to rejection. And sometimes if you don't provide the accurate information, let's say the requirement is that you should have 6 years experience, and now with those gaps you are only having 3. What happens? The visa officer have no choice than to reject your application as at this time until you are able to complete that gap. Then you can proceed with the application. Then we come to the tricky one. For some people, not providing enough information for what they call proof of fund, that is financial documentation. Many information programs, as you know, require proof of financial stability to support not just you, but your family members who are coming with you to Canada. Neglecting to provide the necessary financial documents or not meeting the minimum financial requirements can result in your application being refused. Of course, the government of Canada does not want anybody to become a burden to their system. That is why they are encouraging, they are stressing that you have what they call proof of fund. So you need to show that proof. So the proof of fund needs to be in your name or your spouse. Doing this will save you a lot of time. That money, like they said, it should be unencumbered. In other words, it should not be disturbed for the duration of the processing of your visa. So that is a dicey one for so many people, proof of fund. But make sure that you are giving your bank statement that is signed and stamped by the account officer of your bank. This is very, very crucial. We want to talk now about a very seemingly insignificant mistake that can cost you so much. You've completed your form. You filled everything out nicely. But guess what? You did not sign that form. What happens? It is something that is not acceptable. The visa officer will refuse or will resend that particular application back to you just to add your signature. And that is a waste of time and money for you. So you want to be sure that you carefully review all the forms that you are filling and ensure that they are signed appropriately by yourself and sometimes by your spouse and sometimes too by your kids who are more than 16 years old. Doing that, you will be above those people who are making mistake in this process of coming to Canada. For many people too who are from non-English speaking countries, they are required to make a translation of their document. So if your document is in another language other than English, you are required to have your document translated. So you should look for a reliable translation service that is going to do this for you, that it becomes explicit that the immigration officer understands what is there, and then they can make decision based on the document that you are submitting. It is crucial that you carefully review and proofread all the application paperwork before you submit this. Seeking guidance sometimes from an immigration professional or a consultant can help you to ensure that your application is free from errors and increase your chances of successful outcome. Like I said, you can do it even without the consultant, but it takes time. So if you are that person who can do it yourself, go for it. Get through, follow the process through the Canadian government website, canada.ca. Look for the particular stream you are interested in. Download the required paperwork, fill them, and there is a guide to fill this in. And you will be good if you are a little bit careful. Well, this is a long video. If you found value thus far, you've got something that is useful, something that you can share with your friends, why not subscribe to this channel so that we can continue to build a community here? If you have questions on any other subject matter that pertains to Canada immigration, drop them in the comment section, share the video, like it, so that we can toggle the algorithm of YouTube so that more people can see the same video. I will see you in the next video.